Hey guys, it's me Jennifer, and today I'm getting behind the wheel of my husband's 1987 Chrysler Conquest TSi. So let's get into it. So back in 1971, the Chrysler Corporation bought a 15% stake in Mitsubishi Motors. And one of the products of that relationship was the Starquest hatchback coupes, the Mitsubishi Starion and the Chrysler Conquest. The Mitsubishi Starion debuted in 1982. A couple of years later, it was also sold as the Conquest here in the United States under the Dodge and Plymouth brands. By the 1987 model year, the Conquest was rebadged as a Chrysler product, and it was sold through 1989. Less than 29,000 Conquests were sold here in the US during those wide-body years. It competed with the Toyota Supra, Nissan 300ZX, and Mazda RX-7. Back in the 1990s, my husband had a Chrysler Conquest, and he missed that car. So he had been looking for another one for several years. So back in December of 2023, I was out getting new tires installed on Serenity, my 2013 Subaru BRZ. And while I was waiting, I checked my phone and noticed that a group chat that we're in had a crap ton of new messages. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And it turns out that my husband had seen this car, saw that it was gold, bid on it, and won the auction. Because that is the kind of impulse buys that we have. So when my husband got this car, it had about 80,000 miles on it. And today it has about 2,000 more. He hasn't done any modifications to it, but he has fixed a few drivability problems, such as removing the vacuum advance from the distributor to help with the stumble at idle, and remove the previous owner's aftermarket alarm system, since all that did was drain the battery. Now, this Conquest was built in July 1986 by Mitsubishi Motors in Okazaki, Japan, and originally it was sold at a Chrysler dealership in Vallejo, California. According to the window sticker, this car retailed for $18,656 when it was new, with the only options being $414 for the leather bucket seats, $843 for an automatic climate control system, and an intercooler engine group package for $2,757. Now first off, you'll notice the color. This Conquest is painted in Valencia Gold, which was only offered for the 1987 model year. And like the Mitsubishi Starion at the time, the Conquest got a wide-body design that flared out the front and rear fenders and added a rear spoiler as well as 5 lug wheels. Now you'll notice the pop-up headlights as well as a Conquest decal here on the right side. This Conquest is also equipped with a one-piece front air dam that has openings for the intercooler instead of the 3-piece design from earlier models. Now this is not a 1987 hood. This is actually from a 1983 model, which was during the flatty years of the Starion and Conquest. Now in the scoop, there are 2 slots to direct air into the engine bay, as well as vents on either side of the hood. However, they do appear to be closed off. Now coming around to the side, you have this TSi badge on the front fenders, dual power mirrors, tinted power windows, a locking fuel door, vents on the B-pillar, and sills that are angled out a little bit due to the wide body design. Now out back, you have a power antenna, a single wiper for the rear window, the rear spoiler, a Conquest TSi decal that stretches the width of the back end, and above where it says TSI is a decal that says ported for Chrysler. You also have these large rear brake lights, a black bumper, and dual exhaust tips on the right side. Now inside the Conquest, you have this all-black interior with a nice suede headliner. It also has these automatic strangulation devices, also known as seat belts. And oddly, you still manually have to buckle in the lap belt. But hey, at least these things say turbo on them to remind you that you're in a turbocharged car. So if for some reason the automatic seat belts stop working or they get stuck, you can lift up on one of these emergency exit levers and it will unlock the seat belt, allowing you to get out. Now the leather bucket seats are comfortable, but they don't really offer much side bolstering support. However, both the driver and passenger seats adjust 6 ways, reclining, fore and aft, and for thigh support. There's also some decent headroom here up front. Driver also gets some release switches for the gas door and the back hatch down by the seat controls. Now back here in the back seat, well, it's a little bit of a different story than the front seat. There's really only room for maybe a domo or two, so it's not as comfortable as the front seats, but you still get the black leather bucket seats and a little bit worse headroom, not as good as up front. However, if Domo does decide to light up a cigarette here in the back seat, he does have access to an ashtray on the back of the center console, and he also gets a couple of air vents here up in the ceiling, a tiny courtesy light, as well as hooks for hanging his purse. Now, sitting in the driver's seat, you get this large steering wheel that has an adjustable steering column as well as stereo controls, which is a pretty big deal for a 1987 car. There are buttons for muting the stereo, adjusting the volume up and down, seeking through stations, and even rotating through program stations, and switching between FM and AM. Now, the Mitsubishi head unit radio also has a 5-channel graphic equalizer and a cassette tape deck. Now, when you flip down these hefty visors, you have a vanity mirror, as well as information on the automatic seat belt and manual lap belt, and warnings for when you're driving a car that's equipped with a turbocharger, including do's and don'ts and oil recommendations, and warnings about the seat belt, as well as how to use the emergency exit toggles. Now, on the passenger side visor, you get the same vanity mirror and courtesy light, but the cautions are a little bit different. They still focus on the automatic seatbelt and manual lap belt, as well as how to adjust the front seat. Now, on the dash on either side of the instrument panel are buttons for the headlights, hazard lights, and fog lights. And the instrument panel also includes a boost gauge in the middle of it. To the left of the instrument panel on the dash is a speaker, and then there's another one on the passenger side on the flat part of the dash. Here on the dash, there's also a digital clock and courtesy cabin light controls up here on the roof. There's also an ashtray if you ever need to smoke a cigarette. And down here on the left side of the steering wheel on the lower part of the dash is a button to cancel the automatic intermittent windshield wipers. Now, this Conquest is also optioned with the automatic air conditioning climate control system, which uses sensors to measure cabin temperature at the head and foot levels, as well as to measure the amount of sunlight coming into the cabin. Now, on the center console is a joystick for adjusting the dual power mirrors, as well as the emergency exit levers, and a small center console bin with an armrest, but no cup holders. Now, on the door panels, there's a sliding switch for the power door locks, as well as controls for the power windows, a little storage pocket, speaker, and a courtesy light. And on the driver's side door jamb, there's a sticker warning you to never drive the rear axle when one wheel is up in the air because of the limited slip differential. Now, back here under the hatch, there is 10.3 cubic feet of cargo space, or with the back seat folded down, 18 cubic feet. Now, under the Conquest hood is a turbocharged 2.6-liter 4-cylinder engine that sends power to the rear wheels via a 5-speed manual transmission and a limited slip rear differential. Drivers who didn't want to row their own gears could get a 4-speed automatic at the time. Now, the longitudinally mounted G54B 4-cylinder engine featured a balance shaft and a single overhead cam, as well as only 2 fuel injectors, 1 primary and 1 secondary. Now, with the help of an intercooler and the TC05 turbocharger and 8.7 PSI of boost, the 4-cylinder makes 176 horsepower and 223 pounds-feet of torque. And that's up from the earlier Starquest's 145 horsepower and 185 pounds-feet. Back in the day, Chrysler claimed a 7.3-second 0 to 60 mile an hour time for the Conquest. Now, the Conquest has a fairly large gas tank at 19.8 gallons, and this one gets about 14 miles to the gallon on premium fuel. On the window sticker, it was rated at 18 miles to the gallon in the city and 23 miles to gallon on the highway. Now, underneath its skin, the Conquest has a steel unibody chassis, as well as front and rear independent suspensions. The suspensions use McPherson-type struts and coil springs, as well as anti-roll bars. And there's a 14-to-1 power steering system that uses an old-style gearbox instead of a rack and pinion setup. Now, covering up the 4-wheel disc brakes, which Outback also feature an anti-lock braking system, are staggered with wheels that are 8 inches wide up front and 9 inches wide out back. They are wrapped in 16-inch Falcon ZX ZE 950 all-season tires that are size 225/50 R16 all around for convenience, though someday in the future they may be swapped out for 9-inch wide tires out back for correctness. So the Conquest definitely drives more like a Grand Tour than a modern sports car. It has those tall sidewalls that help absorb so much of the bumps on the road. It's definitely a much smoother ride than Serenity is. Its handling isn't bad either. The Conquest makes a really, really nice cruiser, especially out on the highway. There's a little bit of road noise coming through. There's wind noise happening. There's a lot of noise from the powertrain, but it's probably to be expected from any Japanese car, honestly. The transmission isn't bad either. The clutch feels really good. It's actually easier to modulate and find the friction point than in Serenity. Sometimes it struggles getting into like second gear, especially when the transmission is cold. And finding reverse sometimes feels admittedly a little difficult. There is a little bit of play in the steering wheel. I'm going to guess that that's just from the age of the steering gearbox. And sometimes the steering wheel is a little bit off center. That kind of bugs my OCD, but the steering is fairly direct. It's kind of heavy also. It's not like a light Mercedes steering wheel. Visibility is actually quite awesome in this car. There is so much greenhouse, the huge windshield and the hatch, and then having those quarter windows out back help tremendously with seeing what's in your blind spot. There's a little bit of a rattle coming from the instrument panel. I think it's just plastic. Otherwise, this car is well put together. The fitment of everything seems to be pretty good. Doesn't show any like crazy wear for its age. I mean, this car is what, 40 years old now? And it looks really good in here. The AC is a little bit weak, but it's keeping everything pretty comfortable. Set to 65, it doesn't feel like 65 straight out the vent, but you know, I'm not sweating or anything. Of course, it's not like a stupid hot day outside like it has been lately, but I can't complain. Braking feels really good. There's no pulling or anything. They're very well modulated. And acceleration's nice too. Like, it can get up and go if it needs to. It has no problem doing that. There's a tiny bit of turbo lag, but overall it's not horrible. I love driving this car. It brings a smile to my face. I don't get to drive it too much, but when I do, those turbo noises just make me smile so much. And that's it. If you guys like this video, feel free to like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And if you want to help support future content on the channel, feel free to go to thegearheadgirl.com and you can get access to exclusive content and some merchandise. So I'll see you guys later.